Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1965 Ford Econoline van. Next to me is a 2.8 liter inline 6, and down below is a 3-speed manual transmission shifted on the tree. Now I am super excited to be driving this here 65 Econoline van because it's just so unique, so different, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy merchandise like the sticker pack or the big friggin' bottle sticker. You can also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you could read my blog to see some behind the scenes content on what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 2.8 liter, known more as the 170 cubic inch inline 6. Well, it makes about 101 horsepower and was actually from the Ford Falcon of the same era. However, this actually got mechanical valve lifters. And I apologize, this is a cargo van, so hearing me is not going to be the easiest job in the world. Now, there was another engine offered here in the Econoline van for 1965. It was a 240 cubic inch, which made about 150 horsepower. However, that was really like a generator slash tractor engine and could actually be found running on natural gas. Now, this is the cargo variant, so obviously it got the smaller engine, doesn't have any features or anything like that, which is to be expected. Like I said, paired to it, 3-speed manual transmission shifted on the tree, which is always such a treat here in 2022 to be driving a 3 on the tree vehicle like this. The shifter is incredibly thin. The clutch is stiff, and if I'm being quite honest, I'm not really totally enjoying the driving experience, but this was a utility vehicle. This wasn't meant to carve canyons, which is fair. Last but not least, the Econoline is rear-wheel drive. Let's get her into third. Yeah! Woohoo! This is scary! Oh God, I am kind of having fun. Let's get on the brakes here. So let's talk about the interior. We don't have much to talk about in here. Well, in front of me, I have a couple of gauges. On the left is fuel and my alternator light. Interesting because Ford also had generators just a year before in their Mustangs. Then in the center, I get my speedometer, and on the right, I have my coolant temperature and my oil light. That is it. To the right, I have wipers, and to the left, I have my lights, and this is actually where the ignition key is. Kind of interesting to have the ignition key off to the left. Not often found in many American vehicles. It also should be noted for all the young kids, this little button down here, that's for your high beams. You actually hit it with your foot. It wasn't always on a stalk like on today's cars. The steering wheel is huge. I do have this little helper knob, but I'm not really utilizing it. It's taking a lot of brunt force and effort to get this car, or this vehicle really, to turn. Speaking of turning, as you'll notice, I am sitting over the front wheels. This is a cab over vehicle. Not only is it mid-engine technically, but it's also a cab over, which is pretty different to drive if you haven't driven it before, but I'm starting to get pretty comfortable with it. On the door, I have my latch to get in and out and my window crank, and that's it. Moving into the center, I have what would be climate controls. However, for some reason, they have been removed. So I am really suffering for my craft today, because it is snowing outside, I'm wearing a t-shirt, and I don't have any heat. Don't let them ever say being a YouTuber is easy. Then I do have this home-built center console, just built out of plywood. However, the previous owner cut the holes big enough to actually fit and pass the big friggin' bottle test. So the Econoline from the factory does not pass, but because of this, it actually does. Down below, I have some added Moon Eyes gauges. Those are not factory, but what is factory is this little pull tab that is for my choke, because of course this is a carb-rated car. Then I do get a center console, but what this center console actually is the hood. That's the engine compartment under there. The seats are aftermarket, they're mismatched. Who knows what they're from? If you know what they're from, please let me know. But now let's pull over and talk about the back cargo area. All right, so we're on the back of the 1965 Ford Econoline. It's a nice lever you pull up here. And as you can see, there's nothing back here. Now, of course, this is a 50-year-old car. Oh, wait, it's almost 60 years old, my God. So it has a couple of rust areas, but this was the back of a work van from the 1960s, which I find is so interesting and something I don't really deal with. Let's go around there to the other side. We have another set of doors. There you go, just like that. And coming around here, we have another latch. And it lets you in this way. Obviously, that's where the engine is. So it is mid-engine for all intended purposes. But then there's looking backwards. That is an added sunroof, was added, who knows, between 1965 and a month ago. But this is the back of a work van from the 60s, which is pretty unique in my opinion. Now we have to talk about the looks, and I really do love the look of the Econoline. I love the sort of cut off front nose. Well, not actually sort of. I like the front cut off nose. I really like this burgundy / brown color. I have no idea what this color is. I don't think it's factory, but I absolutely love it. In different lights, it looks like different colors. Something to note about this particular van too, like I said, it's the cargo van. A lot of these were found with windows, similar to the Volkswagen bus, which we'll talk about in a second. However, this is the cargo version and actually has these aftermarket sunroofs cut into them, which was very typical of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. If your car didn't have a sunroof, there was a guy downtown that would cut one in for you. Now, they had horrible leaking issues because they weren't factory, they didn't have proper seals, whatever it might be, but that's just the way it went. With all of that out of the way, let's get to my final thoughts here on the Econoline van. Well, I want to talk about the history of the Econoline just for a second. The Econoline van was first offered in 1961 from Ford, and since then they still make it today with the E-Series of vans, and they're only on their 4th generation. This obviously is a 1st generation, but in 1992 they started the 4th gen and have been on it ever since, which I think is pretty funny. But what do I think about this? Well, I think this car is incredibly cool and incredibly unique. You don't see these often. And so, yeah, there's some things out of place in here, but I don't know when the next time I'll be able to drive a 60s Econoline van will be. I reckon not soon. So that's super cool, but also I love sort of what this vehicle stood for. Yes, in the cargo sense, this was probably used by a plumber or an electrician, or someone who owned a soda pop store. But this van ended up being embedded in van life culture. I drove a late 70s Chevy van that was outfitted to be a camper style van as well. I drove a Volkswagen bus with the pop-up camper top. There was a big movement in the 1960s and 1970s for van culture, and this played a big role. That's why it has the 2 sunroofs. That's why it has the cool paint job, because in the 1960s is really when automotive culture started really forming and the idea of a road trip came around. Because here in America, we didn't have highway systems or easy ways to get across the country until the 1950s. And of course, with everything, it took about 10 years for the public to adapt that idea. And so to me, driving this van, it just reminds me of the great open road. The 60s is where road trips really started to hit their stride. You could drive across the country in the 1960s, where in the 40s, you couldn't, not easily at least. And so that's what I love so much about this Econoline van. And as I've been driving around just this nice suburban neighborhood, I have gotten 3 thumbs up. People love seeing these old vans. And I can't blame them. I do too. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Huge thank you to Lucas for giving me the opportunity to drive this van. Is it a little terrifying? Sure. But it's unique and different and an experience that I'll never forget. Such a cool vehicle, and that is all thank you to Lucas. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys. That was embarrassing.